Hello and welcome back to Mark's House and Garden UK. It's the 1st of August, so I thought I'd do a little video of all the little things that are popping up in my garden and call it small wonders because they are little things. So let's start off with these Agapanthus. Small wonder. Isn't that beautiful? Look at the colour on these here. Look, there's a beautiful blue one and some wonderful white ones. I do have some more white ones around the front of the cottage, which you'll see in a moment, but aren't they just spectacular? I love Agapanthus. I love alliums as well, but these are just wonderful. They've been a little bit damaged by the rain. Of course, you can propagate these from seeds if you leave these flower heads on, cut them off and dry them and plant them. You can also propagate them by slicing them through the roots and separating them. Now, these do like to have a restricted root run for flowering. They don't want to be completely pot bound. But if they're cosy in their pots, you'll get some good flowers out of them. Look at that. Aren't they extraordinary? Right, that's small wonder number one. Now, let's move on to this trough of Sempervivums. Houseleeks, aren't they wonderful? Let's just go in and get a bit of a close-up on the flower structure of those. These all started off as single plants like that one, and they've spread out, and they call them hens and chicks, because that's the hen and these are all its chicks. That one is called Arachnoideum because it's got a kind of a spider's web structure on the front of it on the top there. Arachnoideum. And just look at this. Look at that flower spike coming out there. Isn't that quite extraordinary? Wonderful. Another little small wonder in the garden. I'm just going to go around the front of the cottage now, show you another small wonder, but while we're passing I'll just show you another one of those Sempervivums. Here, look at the red tinge around the edge of the flower or the plant. Right, small wonder number 3 coming up, and it's these black grasses in these urns here. Look at this. Planted these in here just for a bit of contrast and interest, and just expected black grass, but look, they've actually flowered and I had no idea they were going to do that. Let me just separate that leaf from inside that flower head and show you those beautiful, dainty little flowers, no bigger than my little fingernail. Aren't they wonderful? The flowers, the leaves I should say, come out green at the base. Hopefully you can see that down inside of there. And then they turn black and you get these wonderful little flowers. I think that's a small wonder number 4. There's the other Agapanthus I referenced before. Small wonder number 5 is coming up, and it's here. Look at this little tray of cacti. This has been in the winter, in the house for the winter, because it's not hardy, but it does come out for the summertime. It gets lots of light here underneath the porch at the front of the cottage. But look at that. There's a little flower appeared. Can you see it there? A little flower on one of the cacti. Wait for my camera to focus in. That is a little furry flower on a cacti, and these have also got little buds growing on them just there. Yeah, and I'll just wait for the camera to try and focus in. Wonderful. Aren't they beautiful? And very interesting. Right, let's go and have a look at another small wonder, which is over there. A large wonder in actual fact, but I want to focus in on just one of these blooms and call it a small wonder. This is Hydrangea annabelle. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? Each one of those, they call it an inflorescence because of all these tiny little flowers on each of these wonderful flower heads. Now, believe it or believe it not, that was completely pruned down to ground level at the start of the year, and all this growth and all these blooms are from one season. Aren't they wonderful? That's about the size of a football. Some of them have gone over now. You can see this one here's got some brown patches on it. I think that's damage from the rain. Right, Hydrangea annabelle. Wonderful. That's a little solar panel, by the way, for my water feature here. Can you see it? I found that little metal tub, should we say, in the garden when I moved in. Now, it's not at full pelt at the moment because we've not got enough light, but usually all day long that's bubbling away. And I've added these little spherical balls just to add a kind of an industrial rusty feel to this part of the garden. Right, let's go to another small wonder, which is over here. And it's these geraniums. Look at that. A long line of geranium pots. A simple plant, humble plant, easy to plant, easy to look after. All you really have to do is deadhead it. And if you keep deadheading it, and what I mean by deadheading it is removing the dead heads. That's not quite a full dead head yet. But when that completely dies off, I'll just cut it off. And it will just keep rewarding me with new growth. Oh, there's a lot. I've just broken that one, and there's a lovely geranium leaf smell. Hope you know that smell, but look at these, aren't they wonderful? All in a long line and red. So we go. Let's just have a closer look at these flowers. I'm not even sure my camera is capable of delivering the colour of these flowers. Certainly if it was bright sunlight, I think it would be too much for my camera to cope with, but let's just see if we can get a nice shot of that. Isn't it wonderful? And in a line along this path at the side of the cottage, I think quite a nice effect. Right, the next small wonder is an unusual thing to choose, really. I've just put this fence in, and that olive tree and that olive tree suffered so much wind damage at the start of the year that they had 0 leaves, and I mean 0 leaves. There were no leaves whatsoever on these 2 olive plants 5 months ago. I pruned them right back. There's a video on my channel that proves the point. The nice thing about being a YouTuber, I've got video of everything. That had 0 leaves, and in the space of 5 months, look, all that lovely new growth. Now, olive trees do love drainage, and in all honesty, they like to be planted in the ground, but they will do in pots. They'll do very well in pots, providing you repot them every couple of years. There we are, a line of standard lollipop olive trees and geraniums. I'm going to move inside my little courtyard now for the next small wonder. And this, really, when you talk about nature and how nature evolved things, the extraordinary beauty of these. Incidentally, I ought to introduce the plant first. This is Cyathia cooperii. It's a lacy tree fern. That's a Dicksonia antarctica. That's a tree fern. This is a lacy tree fern. It's less hardy. It has to go in the winter time. But I just want to focus in on this. Look at that. I hope you can see it as well as I can, but those tiny little fronds. So each crosier or frond unfurls, and then another one unfurls off it, and then off that several more unfurl, and it's almost like, I can't remember what they call those diagrams that keep going on and on and on into infinity. And I am now desperately trying to get my camera to focus for you so that you can see it. Let's see if we can get this, a better view of this one. Just hold still for a minute. Can you see that? Wonderful, wonderful. And all these little hairs here on these fronds, which I imagine are an adaptation in nature to sort of hold moisture and humidity around those leaves, because these obviously they love shade and damp places. And again, let's just have a look at that there, look. A kind of a spiky effect up the stems of these fronds. And one wonders if that's designed to stop slugs and snails from crawling up here, because that would certainly put me off if I was a slug or a snail. And there's another one, look, a new one, a fresh one, just waiting in the wings, ready to burst out. Another small wonder for you in the garden on the 1st of August 2025. Right, here's another small wonder for you. This is called spike moss. Now, I just bought this and planted it in a ring on the outside of this half bucket of water. But look at that. Again, I'll just wait for the camera to focus. Look at the way it's kind of spreading. It's clinging and spreading like a fungus. And it is a moss. It's called spike moss, but it is also sort of kind of a plant type moss as well. That was one plant. I divided it into 8 pieces, and my objective is to have a complete ring of spike moss, which will eventually cover up this ugly edge of this bucket. You won't be able to see them, but in there there's thousands of little Daphne swimming around. Right, look at that. And it's just kind of invading the rest of this zinc planter there. Wonderful. Right, another small wonder coming right up. This is that's my fernery, for those who don't follow my channel. And this is my exotic tropical jungle border. And have all kinds of different jungle plants in here. Here's a small wonder for you. Look at that. The pineapple lily is flowering. First time I've had a flower off this. You can miss bicolour. Bicolour because it has a dark brown leaf and a light leaf on the same plant in actual fact. But look, a flower spike coming up there. Amazing. Now, quite close by, I have a passion flower. Now, I thought nature was supposed to be efficient, but why on earth has it wasted so much energy making that? I'm glad it did, because it's a wonderful and spectacular thing. But look at that, isn't that incredible? And there is a story behind this. If you're a Christian, this has been kind of adopted as a Christian symbol, and I've done a whole video on this, the passion flower. But for now, let's just look at that. And I've got hundreds and hundreds of flower pods on here, and they come out in succession, I should say. The trick is to keep it well watered. If it starts to be starved of water, it will just drop. It'll do a June drop and shed all its flowers. Look, there's one waiting to come. And look at those tentacles. Are they called tentacles? I think so. They are what it uses to climb and grip. And of course, it is well known as an invasive plant, this. So you've got to be careful with it. Right, again, another small wonder. And now, look at this. Crinum Petuelii. Planted as a bulb. Some of them have actually started to go over. I'll pull that one off, and I'll also pull that one off there. What a beautiful flower, look at that. Like a trumpet. Isn't that beautiful? Crinum bulbs. I just bought some white crinum bulbs, which I'll be getting in the ground in the near future. Bought them at the RHS show at Wentworth Woodhouse, and did a video on the RHS show, by the way, in case you want to see it. I will link to it below this one. But look, again, I'm kind of digressing from the point of this video, which is small wonders in the garden. That's gone over as well, so we'll snap that one off. And hopefully we'll get more. Can you see them emerging from the centre there, like that? And they come like this. Wonderful. Black collocation. Now, I'm going to relocate to another part of the garden now, because there's another small wonder which I found. I just came across it, so I'll see you there. And here it is, right here at my feet. And what is it? Well, it's a little baby wild strawberry plant. It's just appeared out of nowhere. Now then, does it produce fruit? Well, if I very carefully poke around underneath and just see if I can untangle these leaves somewhere underneath here. And I know, because I was out here yesterday. Look at that. Can you see that? Wow, look at that tiny, tiny, tiny little strawberry. There's my thumbnail. And there's a strawberry right next to it. Let's try and get in close. Am I going to pick it and eat it? No. I'm going to leave it for the wildlife. Wonderful. You see it? Tiny little wild strawberry. So we're nearly at the end of this exploration, but I have got a couple more things to show you. In passing, let's just have a quick look. There's the wildlife pond. And this is my Paulonia with its big leaves, foxglove tree. I'm hoping to get some flowers off. We shall see. Right, in amongst the rubble of my building site for my garage conversion, which is an ongoing project, which I'm sharing with you on YouTube. A self-seeded crop of poppies. Aren't they wonderful? Look at them. I haven't planted them. Nature has brought them here. And sometimes if you're not careful, you could walk past them and not notice them, but there's a whole little plantation of them here, look. Aren't they beautiful? And these are the seed heads after the flowers have gone, and they will dry out and then start to disperse seeds. I wonder if there's any chance we can get that one to crack open. No, we'll leave it, it's not dry enough. And that's how they manage to propagate themselves around the countryside. Aren't they wonderful? Right. We are finished in our little exploration of small wonders in my garden on the 1st of August, but I'm going to venture over to the other side of the wildlife pond where I have some buddleias, and invariably we will see a butterfly. So I will leave you for now, and the final shot I hope to share with you is a beautiful butterfly feasting on the nectar of my buddleias. The red admiral gorging itself on the nectar in these beautiful blooms.